So they had even less ability, less knowledge, less perception of being able to cure a paralytic back then. We saw Jesus heal this paralytic. We saw Jesus heal all these other types of affliction. But this is a storm. And this is me. This is me now. And this boat is pitching, and this water is going down, and there's no end to this storm, because we know how storms are. We know what storms do. We know what little boats do when they start filling up with water. We know this, we know that, and we know this, and we know that we're going to die. We know that we need to wake up Jesus. But what was wrong was how they woke up Jesus. If they, instead of focusing on the storm, instead of allowing the fact that water was coming in the boat, instead of allowing the fact that the waves were beating against them, and the boat was doing every which way thing that nobody wants a boat to do when they're in it. I know they didn't. And so the boat is doing all of this and all of that, but Jesus was with them. It's not like Jesus wasn't with them. Jesus was with them. Jesus was asleep in the back of the boat. Instead of waking him up and saying, teacher, got an issue. We got water coming on the boat. There's a storm out here and everything. We got water coming in the boat. Think you can do something about that? Or at least, at the bare minimum, wake him up. Can you help us, bail out water? That's another person. That's another set of hands bailing out the water. But this man who has cast out demons, this man who has healed the paralytic, this man who has healed the sickness of a person's body, this man who has done all of these things, this man who has taught with greater understanding, depth of understanding than any person has ever come along to do. They wake him up, throwing their cares, their concerns in his face, as if he hadn't just done all these miracles, as if they hadn't just witnessed all these miracles. Don't you care that we are perishing? You did all these great things for all these people out here, but you're going to let me die. And I will guarantee you that's not the last time that God has heard those very words from believers.
I know that's right.
From believers. These weren't the Pharisees waking Jesus up, throwing that in his face. These weren't the Sadducees. These weren't the tax collectors. These weren't the sinners. These were the disciples. These were the followers. These were those to whom he was imparting himself. But they come and they wake him up. And they're basically rebuking him. Wow. Never mind that he said, let's cross over to the other side. He didn't say, let's get in these boats and go and perish in the storm. He didn't say, let's get in these boats and sink halfway across. Won't that be fun? Yeah, let's go do that. That's what God had called us to do. No. He didn't say any of that. He simply said, let's go to the other side. They didn't even remember that. They didn't think about what he had already said. They didn't think about what he had commanded. They didn't think about the things that he had already accomplished. He didn't lay it out for them step by step because it was not necessary. There's an expectation. There's an expectation upon us as believers. God is not going to lay it out step by step all the time. Rarely is he going to lay it out step by step, because if we see what the end is, we're going to skip steps.
Right.
We're going to cut corners.
Right.
We're going to find a shortcut. We're going to find the fastest route. We're going to find the easiest route when we know what the end is. Amen? What do we do on that quest? We got to go from point A to point B. We want the fastest route. Amen? route, least delays, least right and left turns, least it all. Get me there as quick as possible. Just typified of the mindset that we have as believers today. But God is not going to, he's not going to lay it out. Jesus didn't tell them. If Jesus had told them, you know what, we're going to go to the, we're going to get in these boats and go to the other side. About halfway through, though, there's going to be a storm. And the boat's going to be filling up with water and all this and all of that. But don't worry because I'm with you. We're going to be okay. If he had told them that, half of them wouldn't have gotten the boat. Wouldn't have gotten in the boat. I'm not even going to look down on them because I don't know that I would have gotten in the boat. I would like to believe that I would have. But half of them wouldn't have gotten in the boat. Some of them would have. But the storm and the magnitude of everything would have still caused them to doubt. Would have still caused them to wonder. Is this it? Are we going to go down? Am I going to die out here in this boat? Even though Jesus said, let's go to the other side, because it wasn't a smooth trip, because it wasn't a fast trip, they began to fear. They began to fear. Now this is a storm. Come on, God, for real? This is a storm. This is waves beating on a tiny boat. This is winds whipping across. This is a harrowing situation. Surely we got to get some slack on this. Surely. Amen. You can cut us some slack because this is hard. Because this is hard. Why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith? How is it that you have no faith? The things that you've seen me do. The things that you've seen me do. You know I'm able to. You know I'm able to. You've seen what I can do. But you still come at me like that? Are you serious? How is it that you have no faith? How is it that we as believers, knowing that God is who he is, knowing that God has done the things that he's done, grant you, the disciples did not have Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They were Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Yeah. They didn't have that. They had the accounts in the Old Testament. They had the accounts of God delivering the children of Israel. They had the account of the plagues and how God delivered them out of the bonds of Egypt. They had the account of God delivering them from Pharaoh's armies. God delivered them from one of the mightiest nations in existence. He didn't just deliver them. He took all their stuff. They took all their stuff. Left that mighty nation with no workers. Left them with no gold. And left them with no army. That's what God did to this mighty nation. But as soon as they come to the sea and Pharaoh's armies are bearing down on them, oh, were there not enough graves in Egypt? Did you bring us out here to die? Never mind the fact that all the 10 plagues occurred and not one of them touched the children of Israel. Not one of them affected the nation of Israel. God is specific. When I'm at work and people tell that joke about, uh-oh, God's going to strike you with lightning, and they start moving back, I don't move. I'm like, you know what? God's accurate. If he wants to get you, he's going to get you. I'll hold your hand. He'll strike you and get just you, and I'm going to be fine.
Amen.
And then they just look at me, you're like, all right, no, God ain't like that. You don't miss. Amen. He gets you. He drew that line. He said, those who are on God's side, get over here. And those who stayed on that side, the earth opened up and swallowed them. Did anybody accidentally fall in? I don't think so. You know? That's how God's accurate like that. But we forget. We forget. Not even talking about the disciples in the boat, because their account is already written down. This is what God has given us today for us. No matter what the storm looks like, no matter what's going, no matter how much water comes on your boat, no matter how bad the waves are beating against your boat, no matter how hard the wind is blowing against your boat. No matter what it looks like, God is able. God is able. Don't look for it. They limited Jesus. He healed the paralytic. No one on that boat was paralyzed. He cast out demons. No, there were no demons on that boat. There were no demons on that boat. So they didn't need Jesus to heal the paralytic. They didn't need Jesus to cast out demons. Nobody was sick. Nobody needed healing. They needed saving from the storm. We need saving from perishing at sea. That's what we need saving from. So that's our approach to God. Because we know what God did for this person. We know what God did for that person. But our situation is something entirely different. So because we know what God did for that person, and it's totally different from what we need over here, we sit in, oh, well, I guess I just wasn't meant to do that. I guess I don't, sadness, despair, depression, this, that, and the other. But forgetting God is able. But forgetting that God is able, not just able, but has the strongest urge and desire to deliver us. Even more than deliver us, to see us through. To see us through. The disciples, they could have sat there. And it's just my conjecture.